I'm just saying, I feel like I would 100% see like a conservative do such a thing before I would see a liberal get this mad over a thing like this. You know what I mean? Conservatives would react in this insane manner, and they do all the time. As a matter of fact, they literally fucking send bomb threats to children's hospitals. So, you know, we already know that they do that when it's when they perceive a child as their ideological opponent.
For the most part, the PragerU video, Just Say Merry Christmas, is extremely boilerplate. Dennis Prager complains about retail workers saying Happy Holidays.
In place of the universe.
I love Big Joel, dude. Holy shit. He looks like he should live in a lighthouse. I've never met another person who is so like, I live in a lighthouse, actually. That's what I do. I'm a guy who lives in a lighthouse. The aesthetic is so perfect for it.
Universal Merry Christmas of my youth. In recent decades, I have been wished happy holidays by every waiter and waitress in every restaurant I have dined.
He develops a paranoid fantasy.
Like, come on. Like, he's very clearly not at a lighthouse here, and I think that's to throw us off. Like, this is the least fisherman coded I've ever seen him. And even then, he is so fisherman coded. He is literally, I will never believe you. If you can tell me like, oh, Big Joel, Little Joel, like he's a commentary guy. No, he lives in a lighthouse, okay? He lives in a lighthouse, and he makes sure that all the ships that are passing by that are like hunting lobsters or hunting crab or whatever, don't actually hit land. That's his job.
Wherein him saying Merry Christmas produces tensions in the rooms he's in.
When I respond, thank you, Merry Christmas, I often sense that I've actually created some tension.
He develops another paranoid fantasy where the people he's talking to feel relieved to hear him commit the thought crime of saying Merry Christmas.
Many of those I wish Merry Christmas are probably relieved to hear someone who feels free to utter the C word.
And he talks about how those who prefer to say Happy Holidays are committing a direct attack against American religious people.
I always forget, is Dennis Prager, he just said it, is Dennis Prager Jewish? Or is he Christian? Is he? Hasan has changed my opinion. Nice. Because he's like, he is Jewish? Okay. He's so fucking cucked to Christianity that I always forget that he's actually Jewish. Like he unironically is the Jews for Jesus guy. He's Christian, I think. I always forget because like he rides for like Christian nationalism way harder than most Christian nationalists do. It's fucking crazy. He gives off the most evangelical ultra Zionist vibes, like you know his ass is like all over that Megiddo shit. You know what I mean? He was raised modern Orthodox and went to yeshiva. I don't know. I always thought that he was Christian. He's 100% Jewish but loves Christianity so much he has rewritten the Bible. Wait, really? Messianic Jews are some thing different entire way. He's just a Zionist freak.
We've heard it all before, and we'll hear it again. But to me, there's one standout line in the video. Toward the end, in defense of saying Merry Christmas, Dennis says this.
The vast majority of Americans who celebrate Christmas and who treat non-Christians so well deserve better. So please, say Merry Christmas
And isn't that just mind-boggling? Christians deserve better? Huh? For one thing, deserve better than what? Hearing the words happy holidays, I think they can withstand this intense trauma. But more importantly, no they don't. Christians don't deserve shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're human.
What is this? Dennis Prager, author of The Rational Bible. Wait, he literally wrote, he rewrote the Bible? What the fuck? Or is he saying like, this is the Bible for rational people? Wait, what is happening? No, not this one. But the original one he wrote was called The Rational Bible. And then this is the new book that he wrote. How to Make Good People, Telling to Be Good Without Giving Them Specifics. No, this is not like actually the Bible that he rewrote, right? He's just calling something the Bible. Like, you know, when you say like, oh, this is the Bible of yada yada. Like Dennis Prager wrote The Bible of Marriages about how you should be able to rape your spouse. He wrote that. That's a real thing that he wrote. He wrote it actually twice. He liked it so much, he wrote it twice. 7 ex-wives, by the way. But that's a real thing. If you look it up, you can look it up if you don't believe me. It's called When a Woman Isn't in the Mood, Part 1. And then he wrote When a Woman Isn't in the Mood, Part 2. This is true. I don't know how we got here. I love Dennis Prager. I mean, he's so fucking cool.
They should be treated as well as anybody else, but nobody deserves to have their religious traditions honored by other people. What makes the Christ boys so special? Taking a step back here, I can't help but ask, what even is the war on Christmas in Dennis Prager's mind? Where does he want society to go? What does he truly think Christians deserve? Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about the 2010 PureFlix film Christmas with a capital C. The film is, in essence, a retelling of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. A big city Baldwin lawyer named Mitch comes back to his hometown in Alaska where he meets our hero, the sexy hot Christian boy, Dan. Every year around Christmas time, Dan, the mayor of this town, puts a nativity scene outside City Hall, but Mitch, the filthy urbanite, doesn't like that one bit. He claims that the display violates the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, advocates one religion over another, and is therefore not allowed.
Wait. Even the big city lawyer is like an annoying libertarian. That is such a libertarian ass trait, dog. I'm sorry. That's not liberal at all. Liberals would just say like, this is racist, take it down. That classic, I am going to annoy you about the rules. I'm going to try to break the rules in the most like rule-abiding way possible. That is like specific libertarianism right there to a goddamn T. That's the classic like, oh, this is not Admiralty Maritime Court type shit. Yeah.
The story is then mostly about the legal and personal battle between these two men.
You cannot preach your religion, Dan.
No, but I'm still a citizen. And as a citizen, I have a First Amendment right to express my own beliefs.
But you do not have the right to spend the taxpayers' money to propagate them.
The only money I've spent is to take better care of town property.
Town property, which establishes a religion.
And the thing is, if I wanted to, I could tell you a story about how this movie is actually pretty cool and thoughtful. And let me begin by doing just that. To start off, let's think about this case for a second. The mayor of a town putting a nativity scene outside City Hall, because the case law surrounding that sort of thing is honestly pretty complicated. In Lynch v. Donnelly, a 1984 Supreme Court case, the court found that a public display containing a nativity scene did not violate the Constitution. It was surrounded by other holiday symbols, a teddy bear, a dancing elephant, a Christmas tree, things that made the display less explicitly religious. And because of this and various other factors, it was found that the display did not constitute a governmental preference for Christianity so much as an enjoyment for Christmas. And Christmas is, after all...
I just did a quick search about Dennis Prager. I read his part 1, doesn't mention rape at all. That entire fucking, when a woman isn't in the... Brother, what do you think when a woman isn't in the mood is? Like, it's literally titled, When a Woman Isn't in the Mood. Read it again. Of course, he doesn't fucking literally say, you should rape your wife, dumbass. Did you just go to the fucking article and Control F rape? And went, well, he didn't say you should rape your wife. Dude, I swear to God. Oh, wait. Did he actually... Fuck you! Okay. Okay. One day. 24 hours. I'm gonna fucking... 24 hours. 24 hours. He deserves it. He deserves it. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I'm never playing Spider-Man, you fucking asshole. You fucking piece of shit. Fuck you! Oh, God, that was so good. Fuck, this guy's been fucking me for the past 3 days. God damn it. Fuck you, chatter. Oh, my God, that was so good. It made me so mad. Oh, my God. I respect you for doing that because you're a fucking piece of shit. Fuck yourself. Oh. He's just been fucking linking me things related to Spider-Man by debating me. He's like, Taylor Swift grooming allegations? When Hasan when a chatter spams 50-minute videos 20 times. Okay, I'll watch it. Hasan when a chatter asks for gaming a few times. Giga banned. Okay, fuck you, Weeby. I banned him for 1 day because he fucking destroyed me. And he's been destroying me nonstop for the past 2 days. It got out of hand, okay? It got fucking out of hand. Not because he was asking me to play a video game. Which I will today. I will. God, that's such a good debate. You fucking piece of shit.
A federal holiday. On the other hand, in Allegheny v. ACLU, a 1989 case, a nativity scene in a county courthouse was taken down. The display didn't have any accompanying iconography, and it came with a bit of text, Gloria in excelsis Deo, in English, glory to God in the highest. And
I didn't do Control F. I read the whole article. It talks about husband-wife dynamic. Oh my God. Oh my God. It literally says, ladies, you should fuck your wife even if he is not. You should fuck your husbands even if he's not in the mood because he'll go and fuck someone else. Just please, no matter what happens, you should always give in. You should always give in to his urges. His sexual urges are more important than your own personal needs. It's basically rape apologia. Spousal rape apologia. I don't know how you are. I don't know why you're doubling down. Like, I don't know why you read this and you're like, no, I actually ride for this. Not in the mood. When a woman isn't in the mood, when a woman doesn't want to give consent to sex, she still should. That's the argument. Oh, I was the one with the Taylor Swift allegations. They're true, check my logs. Fuck you.
As such, it was decided that the display was indisputably religious. We could go on and on here, look at different cases, not just in the Supreme Court, but in state courts around the country. It's a complicated topic, and it's certainly...
Yeah, it's literally this. It's an axiom of contemporary marital life that if a wife is not in the mood, she need not have sex with her husband. Here are some arguments why a woman who loves her husband might want to rethink this axiom. From a guy who's gone through like 8 wives, by the way. So do with that information what you will.
Not trivially easy to know when a nativity scene will be found unconstitutional. And to be honest, the subject of this movie is no different. I don't get to have a strong legal opinion on this matter. For one thing, we actually never get to see this completed nativity scene in all its glory, and since these cases are very attentive to specific details, it's hard to make a definitive statement. But more importantly, I'm not a legal scholar in any
Here. But to repeat the key point, rejection of sex should happen infrequently, and it should almost never be dependent on the mood. See part 2 next week. I know this, and that's why I rarely say no to my husband. This is a wise woman. She knows a sexually fulfilled husband is a happy husband. At the same time, men need to recognize that complete sexual fulfillment is unattainable in this world. And because a happy husband loves his wife more, this cycle of love produces a happy home. In part 2, I will explain in detail why mood should play little or no role in a woman's determining whether she has sex with her husband. Chatter read this and was like, this shit's fire. What do you mean? This guy's spitting, dude. He's like, thank you for the recommendation. I really like him. Okay, he backed away. He said, yeah, sure, it's rape apology, to be honest. Going in the article, I thought he would full blown out talk about forceful sex. I didn't agree, though. Okay, well, I'm glad you at least had the decency to say, okay, maybe it wasn't
any
good.
sense of the word. I've read 3 articles on this topic. Nevertheless, the subject...
Yes, Chatter, he didn't literally write, here's how to rape your wife forcefully.
Subject of this movie certainly feels fairly plausible. A
nativity
nativity scene with no other iconography to accompany it, placed in public land directly in front of City Hall, a symbol of government. I don't know. I personally see this as a fairly plausible case and do not know which way the courts would decide on the display's constitutionality. What I just said there may not sound like such a big deal, but I find it earnestly mind-blowing. See, PureFlix has, for a long time now, been fixated on plots surrounding putting God on trial. Take God's Not Dead, their flagship series, whose every installment centers on this plot. And looking at those films, we can see a clear trajectory toward the absurd and unrealistic. To be sure, they started off ridiculous. The first film is about a philosophy professor who inexplicably forces his students to...
Oh, I remember this. This is the best. God, these movies are such bangers, dude. I remember this one. Kevin Sorbo, the fucking GOAT, dude. The absolute GOAT.
Renounce God before he begins teaching them.
All that I require from each of you is that you fill in the papers I've just given you with 3 little words. God is dead.
Something which has never happened and never will. But from there, it's only gotten worse. The third film is about a legal case where a college wants to steal a church's property via eminent domain.
Bro, this is why conservatives can't make good art, and it's always going to be dog shit, because it's like so... It's always just like the most hyper-specific grievances that absolutely no sane person would give a shit about. Like, even if you're a conservative Christian, right? This is like an entirely different level of brain rot to be like, oh, this is my thing. Like, my thing is just being really annoyed all the time that America doesn't fucking, America doesn't, like, meet all of my demands, no matter how unreasonable. You said, Gran Torino. Gran Torino is a perfect example of conservative cinema that actually doesn't do this at all. That's the point. Like, this is so utterly ridiculous to make a fucking movie surrounding like an incredibly silly grievance.
Domain because they hate the controversies that Christianity spurs on their campus.
Wait, don't we own this land?
Yes.
So how is this legal?
Eminent domain. I studied property law a bit in grad school.
Something which is not only impossible, but also unintelligible and downright unhinged. Like, I have
He eminent domained this house? What?
No idea how they even came up with the plot. And by the fourth film, which I haven't yet talked about on my channel, they don't even attempt to give their case like a reason for existing. In the movie, the state tries to stop Christian parents from homeschooling their kids, and we are never, not once, told why they are doing this, what could possibly grant the government's case legitimacy. And yet here, in Christmas with a capital C, 4 years before God's Not Dead ever came out, what we have is, by comparison, a dang documentary. On some level then, we have to recognize that this movie is earnestly interested in—
I am a firm believer that you can't make good art unless you've been like kind of genuinely victimized in some ways. And that's part of the reason why these motherfuckers can't make good art. You know what I mean? Like, compare this to like the most mid-ass like Holocaust drama, and all of a sudden you realize like the stakes are so fucking low. It's so low. You can't do it. There's no pianist about fucking the Starbucks barista with a they-them gender pronoun and a fucking septum ring telling you that, you know, they're not telling you Merry Christmas. Like, that's not the same. You know what I mean? You can do Schindler's List on that virtue, because that's like the maximum amount of victimization that you experience in modernity as a Christian in America. You know what I mean? It's trivial and pathetic. Exactly. That's why all of this art, quote unquote art, stems from incredibly pedantic, really stupid personal grievances that these guys think are like the absolute worst type of persecution that you could ever withstand. You know?
the Establishment Clause, in the relationship between the government and Christianity. It's not really deceiving us or tipping the scale. Interesting. The all-time funniest piece of War on Christmas media has got to be a conversation between Laura Ingraham, the conservative pundit at Fox, and Annie Gaylor, the co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Well, our boy Sammy Cedar also had a good Fox News thing way back in the day. I watched it.
Gaylor's organization had recently bought a number of billboards saying things like "Heathens Greetings" and "Yes for..."
Yeah, here's a great example. Exactly. The people traumatized by the church put out some great bangers, though. Exactly. If you're like a fucking gay kid growing up in some Alabama backwater and you've been like destroyed by your fucking church, then yeah, you can make art out of that oppression and that struggle. It's just the opposite of that doesn't work. You can't be a upper middle class white guy in Orange County who is like destroyed by the prospect of like Starbucks saying Happy Hanukkah alongside Merry Christmas. You know what I mean? You can't. That's like stupid. So does art need an enemy or just a struggle? I don't think there's any like straight up rules to it. I'm just saying one thing that I have seen is that a lot of good art punches up, not punches down. And if you don't have any kind of suffering, then you don't have enough. Like, I don't know, you just don't have a good framework. Fuck.
Virginia, there is no God. She is, in essence, an icon of 2012 YouTube culture, and I can't deny that I love her for it. And obviously, Laura is gonna have some things to say about this.
How you doing? Merry Christmas, by the way.
Well, Merry Winter Solstice.
You almost said
today.
it! Annie Laurie, you almost said Merry Christmas. I caught
Today?
you were...
This is my favorite. It's just like such low stakes anger. Like, it's the best. It's the perfect thing to be mad about.
It was coming off,
No,
tripping
it's
off your
the
tongue.
Winter Solstice.
This interview is what both people wanted. Gaylor's billboards are obviously intended to spark outrage among conservatives, and Ingraham was all too happy to accept the bait in return for some content. The atmosphere is almost jovial, and Ingraham emphasizes multiple times that it's a free country and people can buy whatever billboards they like.
It's a free country, so you can spend your money and take out any kinds of ads like this. And you know, I actually am personally not bothered by it.
But what I find so interesting about this interaction is what it turns into. A ridiculous grudge match where Laura just takes constant, absurd potshots at Gaylor to attack atheism.
I think that many people might be pleased to know there is no God. There's no person watching over you ready to send you to hell.
I have a question. How many members of your organization do you think are, I don't know, volunteering at AIDS orphanages in Africa this Christmas season or this solstice season? A lot of them? Because last time I checked, the Catholic Church and evangelical missionaries and Mormon missionaries are all across places in this earth of ours that no one will go into. Okay, we got 300 million people in the United States. You have 14,000 members. Okay.
Have you considered that there are a lot of Christians, Annie? Isn't it interesting that some Christians are charitable? What do you say to that one? That's odd, I think. Like, the war on Christmas, at least ostensibly, centers on Christian persecution. They're not being allowed to celebrate their faith because of overly inclusive, politically correct policy. But this is different. It's about Christianity, not about our freedom to practice it or the boot of corporate speak denying people the holiday, but about defending the faith against those who challenge it. Christmas.
What in the motherfucker is an AIDS orphanage? Excuse me. An orphanage for babies with AIDS? Duh.
The capital C gets weirder from there, a lot weirder. Because the movie doesn't just depict a believable enough nativity scene case, it also takes that case seriously. It defends the claim that this nativity scene may be legally problematic and is at times quite critical of its protagonists and their boundless devotions to the Christmas war.
This is so, how do you watch, there's no way you watch this and you're like, this is good content. I can't comprehend it. I can't, for the life of me, feel like this is good. It's horseshit. It's fucking dog shit. Like, in order for a story to be relatively decent, there has to be like an endpoint, like an overarching goal. Like, what is the fucking hero's journey here? Oh, he's just building a nativity scene in a fucking Alaskan town that he's the mayor of. I have relatives that would watch this unironically. Like, I would watch this ironically, as we have. I just don't know. I don't know. I can't comprehend, like, what is going on in your fucking brain. I do think that genuinely fascist reactionaries can produce entertaining content. I think Will Menaker talked about this, referencing Red Dawn. Just look at Zack Snyder. Small C conservatives, on the other hand, no shot. I mean, I guess like you have to be a little bit manic at that point. I don't know. I feel like fascists are very boring. They're very rigid. You know what I mean? Also, Zack Snyder is not a fascist, I don't think. I think he's just a bisexual. And a lot of people mistake that. I'm kidding. Yo, are you throwing shit at us, bi chatters? No, I'm kidding. It's just... Oh, God. Oh, no, it's going to be clipped and people are going to be like, Hasan was seriously biphobic. How dare you make a joke about the bis who built you? Yeah, Hasan is seriously biphobic, and everybody knows bisexuals built him. They made his community. He hates bisexuals. Get him. Nervous laughter. Yeah, you can tell he was being serious from his nervous laughter. Yes, there's no space for self-expression, hence art is shitty and systematic in a way that it adheres to the right-wing ideological metrics. I mean, I think that, like, liberals also make dog shit content in a similar reactionary capacity, too, because I think liberalism is also a reactionary idea, and I think that there's a lot of liberals who, like, stray away from their own personal convictions or their own personal life stories, and then they also make dog shit. Marvel is like a great example of this. Marvel at this point is basically a reinforcement of the American military-industrial complex, with like the good-bad dynamic being reinforced through every fucking orifice. You have the godlike deities, the superheroes that are actually the good guys fighting for our freedoms against the bad guys who are scary and, you know, who knows what their interests are. I don't think only leftists make good content. No, many of the people who make good content are not leftists at all. But I do think that they have some level of struggle or oppression that guides them, and they do have at least some level of emancipatory feelings in the art that they make. But you can also make, I don't know, I mean, Clint Eastwood makes watchable shit, even if it is reactionary. And I would much rather watch, not all art is trauma. I'm not saying that at all. I would, it's one aspect of it. The thing is, like, trauma is only one aspect of making art. Okay? I'm not saying you have to have, you have to be traumatized to make good art. But if your overarching goal is to, like, drive home a fucking narrative, it doesn't matter if it's, even if it's like liberalism or, and I'll say something controversial, as much as I love Boots Riley, some of his work literally also is desperately trying to feed you theory. If your goal is not to make it an allegory, but instead to, you know, hammer in some level of fucking ideological, some level of like ideological perspective, it's going to come across as like dense and boring and not great.
Let's look at one scene where a bunch of Christians meet and talk about the state government potentially taking down their nativity display.
In this case, our tradition is technically in violation of the Establishment Clause.
Screw the Establishment Clause.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. There's where we want to teach our children disrespect for our country and authority.
No.
So here, two things happen. First, all the characters essentially agree that the display does violate the Establishment Clause, that it favors Christianity in an unconstitutional way. In fact, they seem much more certain of this point than I am. Second, they're kind of okay with that possibility. A woman says, "Screw the Establishment Clause if it means our gorgeous baby Jesus has to come down." And the protagonist's wife, a totally sympathetic character, says, "No, let's not go there."
Oh, yeah. There's where we want to teach our children disrespect for our country and authority.
No.
Here, one thing is made very clear. We cannot and should not disregard the Constitution simply because it inconveniences Christians. That's a bad idea as far as she's concerned. And the film doubles down on this opinion toward the end. When Mitch and Dan finally speak to a judge about the display, this moment happens.
What are you saying?
Well, there are three options to consider. I mean, you could add to this as a holiday display and include elements of a non-religious nature or elements that are of other faiths.
Wait, why is he so bent about that?
Or the city can donate or sell them, the statues and the platform, to a private individual who can display them in another place, either on private property.
By the way, that's precisely why there's Lenin statues in like Seattle and shit.
Or with permission in a public setting where there is equal opportunity for others to put up their own holiday displays. And the third, don't display them at all. But if you ask me, that would be a shame.
With all due respect, Your Honor, all three of those are ruining our town's traditions that we've had over 50 years.
Or you could look at it as creating a new tradition. I mean, moving the Christ child to another place of honor does no harm to his reputation.
Dude, this judge is crazy. He said Christ child.
Again, we see the movie clearly telling us that this display, but it goes one step further than that. As the judge tells Dan that they need to add other religious imagery to the nativity scene to make it religiously neutral, he complains that it goes against tradition, and she kind of roasts him. Start a new tradition then, King. Why does everything have to be unchanging just the way you like it? Other people live in this country country, and changing things for them is not an assault on your rights. And that's a kind of powerful claim, right? Finally, we have the scene in the movie I find most baffling. As the Christians are once again sitting around talking about the nativity scene, Dan has this interaction with the pastor of his local church.
Reverend Tiller, what are you thinking?
The nativities become too important. Lovely as they are, they're statues made of wood. And we'd best not make them idols.
Dang, dude. Like, fuck. Who would have ever expected them to go there? In a Christian movie about Protestants defending their nativity displays, a religious official straight up says, "Bro, this is verging into idolatry. Take a breath, it's not that important, Christ doesn't live in nativity scenes, and this entire culture war is putting emphasis in the wrong places." What an incredible and incredibly odd moment. So, what's my point about Christmas with a capital C? Where am I going with this? I mean, from what I've said so far, sure, it's about the war on Christmas, but not offensively so. It gives us a plausible case, understands the legal matter at hand as valuable, and it criticizes the cultural tendency to think of some Christmas displays being taken down as a religious assault. So, is that...
That's perfect. It's a perfect demonstration of privilege. Okay? There's no better demonstration of privilege than just like this being the peak of your oppression, the peak of your struggle. It's just not, it's not going to garner any sympathy or make people go, wow, the stakes are really high in this, unless they're already personally invested in the project. You know what I mean? That's why it's like Nanette. You know what I mean? It's not about like going, ooh, I'm actually invested in this. And it's more so about doing this. Thank you. I agree. And, you know, that shit sucks.
That it? Do I think this movie is just pretty dang cool? Well, no. The reason I started our discussion this way wasn't to impress you with an amazing and iconic movie, but to make something clear. Whatever Christmas with a capital C is saying, whatever idea it is trying to express, it's not simple or obvious. It's doing something, talking about the war on Christmas in ways we wouldn't necessarily expect. So, given that, let's go through this movie again, and let's find something new. The year is 2017. It's December and Donald Trump is president, the first president to ever explicitly address the war on Christmas. He speaks about how under his regime, everyone will say Merry.
God, he was such a fucking virtue signaling. He was so good at just fucking pandering, dude. Like, you think this man gave a fuck that people aren't saying, like, Merry Christmas? Get the fuck out of here.
Merry Christmas.
If I'm president, you're going to see Merry Christmas in department stores, believe me.
He takes out an ad, a child thanking him for saving Christmas.
Thank you, President Trump, for letting us say Merry Christmas again.
It's all...
Yeah, in his most earnest moments, he probably fucking despises him. He's like, folks, you gotta buy gifts. I hate buying gifts, believe me. Get together with the family, folks. I'm trying to watch my TV shows. I don't want to see my stupid kids. Don't want to see them. Don Jr., oh my God, believe me. If you had to spend one Christmas with Don Jr., you'd know very quick nobody wants to do Christmas. Eric, oh, what a disappointment. That type of shit. You know what I mean? That's the type of shit he's on.
All very extra. And if you're a Republican, the question on the table is this. Does this mean we're winning? Did Big Donnie make Christmas great again, at least until the next Democrat takes office? In comes our Fox segment. Shannon Bream sits across from two men. Isaac Wright, a Democrat who ran a Hillary Clinton super PAC, and Vince Coglianese, the editorial director for the Daily Caller, who we'll be focusing on. And she asks the question that's hanging over the room. Did our boy do it? Are we winning? Everything starts off pretty normal. Vince waxes philosophical about how delighted he is to see our president say Merry Christmas.
And when they hear Donald Trump say Merry Christmas, it really is not about necessarily just a war on Christmas. It's about the war on Christianity. They'd like to make sure that Christianity continues to be a dominant force in America.
Seemingly with no awareness that every president says Merry Christmas, every single one.
So Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, but he's Muslim, so it's different. Come on, Joel. Duh. Hello. Barack Hussein Obama. Think about that? Yeah, I bet you didn't think about that at all. Exactly. But he says Eid Mubarak too.
I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
It's just classic Republican doublethink, and frankly, I find the naked absurdity a bit comforting at this point. But as the interview presses on, things get more complicated, and Vince says this about the importance of the war on Christmas.
And again, this goes back to people being concerned about this idea, this notion of a war on Christmas. Really, this is a proxy for the greater war about Christianity and its place in our culture. When you have nuns being compelled to take on birth control, when you have a situation where coaches can't say prayers with their players at football games in high schools, then you know that we as a country have gone too far. And I think a lot of people recognize that and they say, you know what? I'd like to have a president who's going to be pretty proud about the notion that they can easily say Merry Christmas without being worried about who they're offending.
All right. That was a bit of a doozy there, wasn't it? Let's unpack one interesting line. When you have nuns being compelled to take on birth control, what does he mean by that? So, one of the goals of the Affordable Care Act, founded under Obama, was to make sure more Americans had access to preventative health care, including contraceptive medication. So, they made employers include it in their health insurance plans. Houses of worship, churches, synagogues, etc. were excluded from this provision, but religiously affiliated nonprofits like hospitals, universities, and charities were not. But since many of these institutions had religious objections to birth control, the government found a workaround. If a religious nonprofit didn't want to provide contraceptive care in their insurance, they had to notify the government or their insurance agency or whatever, and those entities would then provide the birth control for no additional cost. Here's where our nuns come in, the Little Sisters of the Poor, a nonprofit home for the elderly. They said this is unacceptable. Their employees were still getting this healthcare while working for the organization, and that was bad. Now, to make a very, very long story short, when Trump won in 2016, he changed things up, got rid of this little birth control workaround. And this decision has been affirmed by the Supreme Court as constitutional. So, when Vince says this line about nuns being compelled to give contraception,
when you have nuns being compelled to take on birth control,
that's not quite.
That's so funny. Yeah, dude, they're like forcibly sterilizing nuns like they're Ethiopians immigrating into Israel. Like, no. It's always the same shit. Conservatives love enforcing their psychotic religious doctrine on people and then turning around and making it seem like even having the choice to have a particular thing is actually taking away their freedoms. Bro, what the fuck do you mean?
Quite right, is it? The government was giving contraception. All the nuns had to do was say that they didn't want to do that. Does that count as coercion? I don't know. It doesn't seem that way to me. No.
Did Hasan comment on Milei? No. I also have to read more about Milei in general. Like, I mean, I know he's like a freak, but I feel like, what's the neo-lib take that you always hear? There's what is it, 3 different kind of economies or 4 different kind of economies? It's developing, developed, Japan, Argentina. It's too, Argentina is too fucked up for me to like give you a genuine like a really good, I can't give you a good take on Argentina or Richard Milei, the evangelical psycho who like is a cosplayer, or not an evangelical psycho, sorry, the fucking libertarian psycho who's like a cosplayer, or even he looks like a pedophile. I don't know if he is. He literally looks like the type of dude who goes, actually, it's a phebophilia. He's also clinically insane, by the way, has hallucinations and shit. I mean, he's awesome. He's a self-described ANCAP, so that's how you know. We have unironically Reddit-ass motherfuckers that people are voting for. This guy's crazy in like very meaningful ways and very funny ways, but also not great for the country's future, it seems.
Vince is getting mad here at the...
If that guy was American, you would have been so cooked. You would have been so cooked, guys, to be honest. I mean, we did have him as an American version, Donald Trump. But also, if you're a neoliberal, then your economic policies are going to be marginally different than the Democratic neoliberal versus the Republican neoliberal. One is going to be gutting institutions at a faster clip than the other. The other one is just going to fucking stand idly by and not offer any sort of protections to ensure that those institutions aren't gutted in the next cycle. So that's what we've been doing in America's downward spiral since Carter. Not even Ronald Reagan.
The government providing health care. That's it. And as far as he...
And then, okay, one more thing. The guy that unironically let at least the agencies do their fucking job, to step aside and let the agencies do their job instead of destroying them purposefully like Donald Trump was, Joe Biden is just patently unlikable, 800,000 years old, and also is the most hyper-Zionist president we've had since Donald Trump, who is even more Zionist than he is. I guess he's not like ideologically Zionist. He just, you know, doesn't give a shit, I guess. Whereas like Joe Biden quite literally is. He's like, I ride or die for Israel. Like, I will die for Israel. I don't give a fuck. I will kill my campaign. Okay, well, Trump was literally the last president before Biden, so I mean, yes, and this is still a continuation of Trump's horrifying policies in the region, like the Abraham Accords and whatnot. But he had every opportunity not to follow it. Like, as far as foreign policy goes, Joe Biden has a lot of power there. The president has a lot of power there. And he could have very easily reined it in from the jump, told Israel to chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? And he just always was like, nope, all the way, baby.
He is concerned that is what the war on Christmas is a proxy for. That is what Donald Trump is winning. Let's talk about an interesting scene. Toward the middle of the movie, Dan's daughter stands outside public land and sings some Christmas carols.
Hark the herald angels singing.
Mitch, our antagonist, sees this happen and they have this interaction.
Your daddy here tonight?
My Uncle Greg is with me.
Oh, your Uncle Greg should know that you're in breach of the preliminary injunction.
Hey, I'm serious.
Honey, please come down.
Dude, that's awesome. Dude, the liberal lawyer, libertarian debate lording little girl singing Christmas carols. Fuck yeah. I love this, dude. This guy's awesome.
Hey, I said don't turn hands. Are you?
Hey,
off me. Back off!
So, 2 points. First, the way Mitch acts here is straightforwardly insane. He is so overbearing and odd and almost scary as he touches a small girl to make her stop singing. Very odd. Deeply odd behavior. Second, and I get
also very Republican. I'm just saying, I feel like I would 100% see like a conservative do such a thing before I would see a liberal get this mad over a thing like this. You know what I mean? Conservatives would react in this insane manner. And they do all the time, as a matter of fact. They literally fucking send bomb threats to children's hospitals. So, you know, we already know that they do that when it's when they perceive a child as their ideological opponent.
Guess more importantly, what she's doing is unambiguously and obviously constitutional. Individuals are allowed to have religious beliefs. They're allowed to sing about it in public. And this is, in fact, the very thing the First Amendment exists to protect.
Yeah, just like the top of the hour ad break. and a $5 a month subscription, which exists to protect you from the top of the hour ad break, which is constitutionally protected. But you can protect yourself against that constitutionally protected 3-minute ad break by subscribing for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
As we learn in an earlier scene, Mitch hates Christians and hates the culture he grew up in. He thinks they're all hateful bigots.
I find that most of you followers are the most unforgiving, unloving, even bigoted people I've ever seen.
If we're already done name calling, this conversation is over. No, you know what? I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry that you've had such bad experiences with Christians, but that doesn't mean that you can ruin Christmas for everybody else here.
And in this moment, his judgment is entirely clouded by that. So what do we make of this? What does this scene do? Well, I think it tells us one thing, that no matter what the movie does, no matter how it might stand up for the legitimacy of the Constitution, it nonetheless expresses that the only reason one might want a religious display to come down is that you hate God and hate Christians.
Point is, the person bringing the complaint hates all religion. He hates God.
Mitch is not merely a lawyer who believes the nativity scene is unconstitutional. He is also a wounded man using the Constitution as a prop to do whatever damage he can to the people in his life. And with all that in mind, let's look back at some of those scenes we talked about before. Like, actually listen to what Dan's wife says about the Establishment Clause.
Screw the Establishment Clause.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's where we want to teach our children disrespect for our country and authority.
No.
It's a bit interesting, I think, because she's not actually saying that this rule is reasonable or necessary. No, she is simply affirming the goodness of authority, saying that whether it's good or not, the law is the law. Or look at that judge scene we talked about.
1 second. Hold on, I'm doing something. I'm setting something up. Wait, did I? Oh yeah, I did run the 3-minute ad break. Okay, good. Oh my God, dude. My fucking brain is so busted. Even though we're doing fun day today, brain is still busted.
For the cool line about how Dan should start new traditions, she says this.
Off the record, I'll tell you that I don't personally want to make a ruling against Jesus and Mary, especially at Christmas time.
What even does that mean? I don't want to take a ruling against Jesus so close to Christmas. For one thing, good. Nobody is asking you to do that, because Jesus is not on trial here. This town is. But also, you don't want to make a ruling so close to Christmas? When else are you gonna take down a Christmas display? Lady, it's now or never. Make up your mind. What's going on? In both of these examples, Dan's wife and the judge, we see the same kind of gesture, right? A bounding into authority. Mitch must be treated as though he has a legitimate complaint. The Constitution is apparently on his side with regards to the nativity scene, and the Constitution must be treated as unquestionably good. But as far as the characters in this movie are concerned, none of them should have been in this position in the first place. The judge should not have been asked to make this decision. Mitch's wife shouldn't have had to stand up for the Establishment Clause. Mitch should not have taken issue with this nativity scene. The law might be acceptable, but to use it is not. Just a short one. Let's talk about the man who started it all, Bill O'Reilly, the first guy to fight back against the war on Christmas.
As you know, there are some Americans who are offended by any reference to Jesus Christ. And that's what the USA celebrates on December 25th, the birth of the baby Jesus.
And actually, I want to do something a bit different here. Play you a clip of the Young Turks reacting to a particularly wild interview on Bill's show. It's a bit long, but it's definitely worth it.
Let's listen to his argument.
So it has to do with, at the root of it, it has to do with two things: abortion and the gay rights agenda, because Christianity is against those things, and it's subtle, but that's why that's why it's so pronounced in recent years. In my opinion.
100% agree. I absolutely agree 100% that it's the diminishment of Christianity is the target and Christmas is the vehicle because the secularists know their opposition to their agenda. Legalized drugs is in that as well. Comes primarily from the Judeo-Christian traditionalists.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So the conspiracy we apparently hatched up, us libs overall, is we're like, okay, how do we legalize pot?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Sorry, I had to pee real quick. Oh boy. And boy, did I miss some things here. Okay. Oh, buddy. Look at that. Motherfucking Jonathan Idarola and Jimothy Dore right next to Cenk Uygur. There it is.
And make sure abortion remains legal, etc. Well, why don't we go after Santa? That's the most logical target.
You know, I'm not trying to shame the Young Turks here. There is something innately funny about the intensity of these claims. But at the end of the day, I do think these guys are missing the point. No, most secular liberal types do not see the war on Christmas as an important way of achieving their desired political ends. But Bill and his friend here are not wrong about what those ends are. They do want abortions and gay marriage and legalized drugs. They want, or at least should want, a society that is at odds with the evangelical right, with their genuinely authoritarian read of Christianity and family values. And to hear Bill O'Reilly describe it, this entire conflict can essentially be summed up with 4 words: the war on Christmas. Before we laugh him off, I think we should figure out what he means by that. When I think about the war on Christmas, my mind turns very quickly to a number of bullshit lies and the assholes who tell them. There's a reason my mind does that. In fact, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Our cultural understanding of the war on Christmas is utterly dominated by trash. Conservative pundits fear-mongering, feeding off the 24-hour news cycle, constructing artificial enemies.
Merry Christmas! We're not surrendering, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, Christmas with a capital C is loosely based on a song of the same name by the band Go Fish.
Everybody say Merry Christmas! Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Lowenstein!
And you can see a lot of the same shit there. The song's main speaker gives his tight little 5, infuriated by a lady at Starbucks.
I just don't really understand who's upset or offended by this. I don't think there's anyone who's legitimately upset or offended by this other than like maybe some like atheist liberals who are like former Christians, I guess. Because, like, it's so stupid. Listen, man, I grew up in fucking Turkey. It's a Muslim country. We didn't have Christmas. I thought Christmas was fucking sick. All of the American celebrations have completely commoditized whatever kind of, like, religious, cultural holidays you might have had. And it's awesome. I love that shit. I love it. It's fucking sick. I think Christmas is dope. Okay, I get into the Christmas spirit, and honestly, I don't know who the fuck does it, you know? It just doesn't make any sense. Beats Muslim Hungry Month? Exactly, dude. Ramadan is so fucking, oh, God.
Saying happy holidays.
I went to the coffee shop to get myself a mocha. The lady at the counter said, happy holidays.
And then he seems to premise his entire worldview off of this one event, treating this as the death of American tradition.
God's got a law and we've pretty much destroyed it. We're gonna get judged, there's no way to avoid it.
And, you know, that's what they all do, all the time. So, yeah, obviously there is...
For the record, you want to know why Christmas is so fucking fire? Honestly, in Turkey, we don't have Christmas because we're a Muslim nation, right? Which kind of sucks, not going to lie. So what do? We took New Year's, okay? We took New Year's and we made it into Christmas. So, like, on New Year's, we just made up our own fucking celebration that unironically still is identical to Christmas, where, like, we do have Christmas trees, and we also, yeah, yılbaşı, and we still have a Christmas tree, and we still have, like, you know, gift giving and shit like that. Isn't Turkey secular? Brother, Turkey is secular in the same way that America is secular. And what I mean by that is it's not, okay?
Is truth in saying that the war on Christmas is an incoherent grift with no actual aim besides making money and allowing Christians to feel falsely victimized. And to be clear, Christmas with a capital C does this too. One of the main characters, Dan's brother, chews the scenery constantly and even has a speech taken directly from the song.
Happy holidays.
What? Christmas is the only holiday in December that makes me want to get up and shout from the rooftops.
But at the same time, this movie is deeply invested in tearing down all this guff. No, the film says, we will not pretend these cases are one-sided or simple. No, we will not say that the laws surrounding religion and the state are bad. No, we will not act like some Christmas displays being taken down makes us victims or martyrs. But when you've taken all that nonsense off the table, what do you have left? What does this movie want? And I think the end of the film gives us our answer. Mitch wins his case. The display comes down and David decides to put it on private property. But then, for reasons I don't really care about explaining, Mitch's heart grows 3 sizes.
No, don't do it. Don't cave, Mitch. You fucking bitch. Mitch the bitch, dude. Imagine caving after you won a legal victory. It's a victory.
He realizes that Christians are fine, this town is fine, and this display is fine.
Freedom of religion. It's what makes America great, right? Yeah.
He drops the injunction, and together, Mitch and David and David's brother move the display back to City Hall. There is a tension at the heart of Christmas with a capital C. A tension between evangelical, what we'll call liberal secular democracy. The local government of this town wants to be unabashedly Christian. It wants to announce and celebrate its Christianity. But this is not allowed. It's not constitutional. And as far as the film is concerned, these two forces must, at least in theory, be allowed to coexist. That's a complicated problem, so how do you solve it? Well, it's pretty simple, right? Just make everybody Christian.
Peace on earth. Goodwill to men.
Hallelujah.
Merry Christmas.
In a way, the war on Christmas is here understood as the final battle of the evangelical right. Because to win this war is to win entirely. To have a society without dissent, where there is nobody left to care about the Constitution or the Establishment Clause or whatever the government says. A society where the phrase Happy Holidays could not be meaningfully uttered because there is only one real holiday. And, you know, isn't that kinda true for everything we've talked about today? Isn't that what's left when you take away all the nonsense? When we win the Christmas war, the Christians will finally get what they deserve. Through sheer numbers and force of will, we will show everyone that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. A bunch of nuns will be able to decide what medications.
Even if we all have the same religion, we find something else to fight about? Yes. And also, Christians don't even agree on all this shit either. Like, ask a fucking evangelical how they feel about Catholics, dude. Or Mormons. I'm Muslim. From where I'm standing, all these motherfuckers believe the same shit. Except, if you come to America, I had to describe to people who are Catholics that they are still Christian. Like, there are people in this chat that are going to go, what? You mean Catholicism is not Christianity? It's very different. No, man. It's the same shit. Different seasoning. It's like the difference between Shias and Sunnis. Like, it's still Islam. It's just like a different flavor. I get it. Yeah, no, people don't know that. Protestants, Lutherans, Baptists, All Catholics are Christians. Not all Christians are Catholic. Yeah, I grew up Catholic, and the amount of people who don't know that Catholics are Christians is fucking wild.
The government can provide. And there will be no drugs, no gay marriage, no abortion. The fight will be over. At two separate points in Christmas with a capital C, Dan is given the same suggestion. You can keep this display up, just secularize it a bit. Maybe add some other religions in there. You've already seen one example of this, but there's another earlier on.
Mormons aren't Christians. They added an additional holy book. They're like a Western Islam. I mean, but it still has Jesus. No, it's still Christian. They're literally Christian. You're doing the same thing but with a different seasoning. I mean, it's like so does Islam, but it's not the same. Islam also recognizes Isa, Jesus Christ. But Islam is not derived out of Christianity in the same way LDS. In the same way that Mormonism is. I like that everybody always goes like, nah, it's different. Because like there's a... Mormons describe themselves as Christian, and that's the official church position. Yeah, but Christians don't, other Christians don't describe Mormons as Christian because they're like, oh no, we're kooky, but like we're not that crazy. Come on. Which is really funny because like they are Christian. And Mormons will say that they're Christian, except other Christians all collectively hate Mormons. And they think like, no, Mormonism is not Christianity. How dare you say that? LDS doesn't use the crucifix in their iconography, I heard recently. Yeah, but they have fucking blonde, beautiful, blue-eyed Jesus Christ. Guys, there are sects upon sects in Islam, even underneath the umbrellas of like Shia and Sunni, but they're still Muslim. Okay? And the same goes for like Orthodox Judaism, even all the way to like the Neturei Karta, from the likes of Ben Shabibo, who was an Orthodox Jew as well, all the way to the Neturei Karta, who are the guys who are like the Torah Judaism guys. They're all still Jewish, just like Reform Jews are as well. Where is Sufi Masudi when you need him? He'd be so happy that I'm talking about the different sects of Islam so he could yell at me and say I'm Islamophobic. You know? This is his time to shine.
In cases similar to ours, the rulings have gone to the plaintiff when the nativity is the only element of the display.
In some way, this is the ultimate concession that the entire problem that the movie is addressing is deeply unimportant. Within the movie, all that can be legally asked of this town is to put the nativity scene next to some other stuff. They're not taking away anything, not harming Christians or preventing them from celebrating their faith. Even if Mitch wanted to do that, he couldn't. And in both cases, Dan says the same basic thing. Not a chance in hell. That would be destroying our traditions, and if we started changing them, where would it stop?
What are you supposed to do? I mean, we're supposed to put up, we put up a menorah, and then we put up the Kwanzaa. I don't even know what that symbol is. I mean, where does it end?
And in the end, that response is 100% fine. he wins. The pure, unperverted nativity scene can stand without objection. In a sense, he got what he always wanted, the formation of a Christian utopia. So Christmas is behind us now, and I know that as an enemy of Christmas/Jesus, I have no right to ask this, but you can still give me a gift. The gift of signing up for Nebula, which is a gift for you as well. Every month for the foreseeable future, I'll be releasing a little bonus video there. I have a bunch up now that I'll flash on the screen, and this month I just talk about one very strange Dr. Phil interview. What I just showed you was—
Is harassing Mormons bad? Yes. What the fuck? What a crazy fucking question. Yes, dude, please do not harass a random group of people for whatever kooky religion they believe in, okay? That was bait? What does that mean? Like, what kind of bait would that be? All right, we're going to watch the fucking Bill Burr video. Oh my God, you suck. Chatters.
Our
Here.
strength and tipped it in their favor.